Nashville Predators 2 years ago looked like they were about to do a rebuild. Then last year, they also looked like they were about to do a rebuild.
Yeah.
And then they decided, no, let's just be good instead. And then this year have been good again. And the thing is that during that time, they have let go of a few pieces that would
big pieces
indicate a rebuild. Yes.
Yeah, Victor Arvidsson
and
Kelly Yarncroke.
Yarncroke, I wasn't even thinking of.
Yeah,
but what's his name that went to
expansion
Philadelphia?
Ryan Ellis.
Ryan Ellis.
Yeah.
They've let go of a few very big pieces that would have bode well for a team that wants to actually win. But what do you attribute to the team's success right now? You wrote an article about them at the beginning of the year.
Okay. I don't even remember that, but
this guy's forgotten more about hockey than
I've never gotten that. I've never understood how that's a good thing.
Expression,
I've never understood how that's a good thing. This guy's forgotten more about hockey than you know. That's not good. That's just not good.
So then how would you say that we balance out now? I know much more than him.
Like I know who won the Stanley Cup last year. Has he forgotten that already?
Okay, well, you wrote an article about the Nashville Predators.
It's coming back to me. Yep.
And you wrote an article about specifically with Duchesne and Johansson and stuff like
Forsberg.
Philip Forsberg, exactly. And so I'm wondering, now that we've got a full season, because when you wrote that they were 10 or 15 games in, and it's kind of like, well, that's great, but it could just be a flash in the pan. Yeah. Right? So I'm wondering now what you attribute to the team's success.
Well, wonder no longer. I mean, a lot of things. I mean, so they let
I couldn't wait another minute of that wondering.
That's right. They lose Calle Yarncroke in the expansion draft, right?
Right.
Everybody's like, what? And David Poile goes, well, we got this kid named Tanner Jeannot.
Right. Yeah.
And Tanner Jeannot is going to be a Calder Trophy finalist this year.
You picked him for the Calder, didn't you?
I might have. I forget more about hockey than everybody knows. So maybe I did. Maybe I may have. Yeah. So like the guy scores, he fights, he plays physical, he's tough, he can play him in all situations. Yeah. But I think to me, the key to the Nashville Predators is who's having career years on that team.
Everyone.
Well, Matt Duchene's having a career year.
Yeah.
Philip Forsberg's having a career year. Yeah. Ryan Johansson's having a career year. Yeah. Roman Yossi's having a career year.
Roman Yossi's having a historic year.
Yossi's having an epic year.
Yeah.
Jussi Saros is having a career year. I mean that it's coming together where it didn't before. Yeah. I mean, we kept waiting for Matt Duchene and Ryan Johansson to prove they were number one centers in the NHL. Well, together they kind of are now. You know what I mean? Matt Duchene's got 40 goals. Yeah. Ryan Johansson is scoring again and looking confident and playing really, really well. Philip Forsberg, who's picked a great year to be in a contract year, has been excellent for them. And to me, I actually talked to John Hines about this, and this is probably the story you're referring to.
This is the article I'm referring to.
Yeah, and he basically said, they basically came to him and said, look, it was like the old coach-player push and pull, right?
Yeah.
We don't like the way you're using us. And the coach is like, well, I don't like what you're doing out there. So basically what he did was he started the year with a clean slate with those guys. Yeah. So there was no biases, nothing from the previous year, nothing. And he said, okay, look, this is what you want. You want to be put in this position. You want to be put in these situations. I'm putting you there.
Yeah.
I'm putting you there. But you got to prove you can stay there.
It's very impressive. It's very impressive because, just from being an alive human being, as we both are, how many times has somebody said, let's wipe the slate clean, and you think, I don't think you meant that. Yeah. I don't think that you meant clean. I think you meant, let's suck it up for a little while, right? Yeah. So the fact that he was able to say, let's wipe the slate clean, and actually was able to create a clean slate with those guys, that is very impressive to me in terms of his people skills. And I wonder if he would mediate discussions between myself and my 2-year-old.
Oh, okay. Your 2-year-old was when I came, your 2-year-old was running around the other person's yard, and your wife was just sort of waiting for her to get in the car. And then the last thing she said to me was, I'm going to be here for a while. So you could use those. You could definitely use those mediation skills with her.
Yes.
No question.
Yeah. Before we move on with the Nashville Predators, just a reminder, subscribe, kencampbell.substack.com. Check out Hockey Unfiltered on YouTube if you want the clips of these episodes. And if you want the full episodes, then you've got to go over to the Hockey Podcast Network on YouTube. And we're probably going to start doing some live stuff on the Hockey Podcast Network. So that's worthy of a subscription. Yep. And of course, don't forget to leave a review on Apple Podcasts and, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just, I'm doing my due diligence here.
Due diligence.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
Yeah, there you go.
One thing I forgot to say about the Nashville Predators is Mikhail Grandland. He's been a huge part of all of this. He's been a huge part of this because now Duchesne's playing the wing a lot more.
Yeah.
And he's playing with, I think he's playing with Forsberg and Grandland.
Yeah.
And I mean, Grandland has been very, very good for them.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see because they play, like if it ends the way it is now, I think they play Calgary in the first round. And
right.
They just played last night and Nashville won in a shootout, took a 2-0 lead early, and then Calgary battled back. It was a great game. I think they play again like next week.
Yeah.
So that'll be a nice way to set things up for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That'll be a really good series. That'll be one of those ones where you got to watch. I was
trying to figure out if UC Saros, if Roman Josi could break 100 points, and they have a very tough schedule. They've got some tough sledding in the next little while. Calgary twice, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Colorado, I think, is in the mix. Yeah. Anyways, they've got a very tough schedule coming up, and I went, maybe not. They've got their last game of the year is Philadelphia. And I thought, well, maybe he'll do 12 in Philadelphia. They got to give him some primary and secondary assists on a few of those goals.
Right.
So speaking of UC Saros, who I almost mistook for Roman Josi, because talking is hard, okay? Like, you don't realize how many mistakes you make speaking until you speak into, a microphone for an hour. And you're just like, well, I screwed that up pretty bad now.
That one really came out of my butt. Yeah, that was good.
So UC Saros is the 5th best goalie for goals saved above expected. So meaning that he is, those are the amount of goals he'd save against a statistical model of what a league average goalie is. He is the 8th best goalie for save percentage this year. So he's in the mix for excellent goaltending. And now, if I would say just from kind of like my watching him, I would knock him up a few notches on those lists because I don't think that he's getting the defensive help that some of those other fellas are getting on the list. Now, the goal saved above expected is supposed to negate defense, but it does a so-so job of it. You know what I mean? No stat is perfect.
No
stat is perfect, I guess is what I'm saying. But listen, we've seen teams go very far on the strength of one stellar defenseman and one extremely hot goalie. And of course, I think about Ottawa, the Ottawa Senators, when Craig Anderson just said, "Hey, everybody, remember me?"
Yeah, and Erik Karlsson,
And Erik Karlsson said, "Hey, everybody, remember
2017?
me?"
2017,
Yeah. That was an excellent playoff run. I really loved watching that. And Craig Anderson's such a fun goalie to watch. Anyways, and of course, the Montreal Canadiens last year where Price and Weber just clearly shook hands and said, "Okay, so we're doing this?"
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you've seen teams do those incredible runs based on essentially the model of UC Saros and Roman Josi and other people playing fine. How surprised would you be on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most surprised, if the Nashville Predators wound up winning the Stanley Cup?
Probably 8.5.
You'd be that surprised, eh?
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'd be pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Although their path to the final or their path through the Western Conference is not going to be as tough as anybody's path in the Eastern Conference.
I don't know. Like, we were just talking about how they might be playing Calgary in the first round.
Right. Yeah.
That's gonna be a tough team to play.
Yeah.
And then presumably you'll be facing Colorado at some point.
Well, but if they face Calgary, that means they're going in with the Pacific Division.
Yeah, but I'm just saying their path through the path through the West.
Yeah, but still, so you play Calgary in your first series, and then you're playing either Edmonton or LA in the second round.
Yeah. That reminds me of Montreal actually last year.
Yeah.
Played Toronto, a tough series.
Yeah.
Then swept Winnipeg. Okay, bye.
Yeah.
Played another tough series against the Vegas Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're right. Like, it's not going to be as hard as, Carolina. We're talking to Don Waddell in a little bit. They're playing every single horrific matchup that could possibly be concocted.
Yeah.
In order to get to the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah.